All right. What the data visualizer? Well, let's talk about the problem first here that we have it on our screen. So typically, when we are presenting data, in this case, technical details about that information, we like to display it in these tabular structures, such as Excel spreadsheets, or we run an SQL query to get some output. The problem here is that beyond this view, it's hard to see is that this data that we're actually showing here actually has some depth. This data has relationships to other data. And so the question we ask, how can people more easily understand this information outside of this tabular structure? And that's kind of what the data visualizer is all about solving. And so here we have a basic example of what the visualization tool does with information. Without me explaining the details of this image, what you could gain from simply looking at it is that there's several pieces of information with connections between them. And those arrows show the directions of those relationships in this case. But the details behind this are that we have a subject area, which is a classification of information and its relationships to entities in that subject area. And so that is the basic objective here of the visualization tool, is to show these mappings between different types of information. So what is it? So we provide an interactive and navigational experience through the relationships of the content visually. Visually is a key point here. So some of our other tools are very textual and descriptive, and the visualization is all about basic imagery to show the relationship between the content. And what we're trying to get is an understanding of the meaning of the content via these relationships, rather than through that textual documentation. And the goal here is to retain the conceptual meaning, not the details. What this means is that some people learn and think very differently about information in the way that it's presented to them. So one way of presentation may not necessarily be beneficial for one person as it is another. So what we've tried to do here is to provide both vehicles of meaning to somebody that may think differently. In this case, it's through an image. And so how we differ from the reporting style of presenting information? Reports generally are in-depth, provide detail, and are domain-specific. What the visualization tries to do is to target a more general audience to demonstrate or deliver the meaning of information. And we kind of want to get that across regardless of your experience. So we have different individuals with business experience, technical experience, sales experience. They all have specialized ways of doing their job. So how do we tailor something to really cross all those barriers and present something valuable? And that's what the visualization is attempting to do. And so we're combining these different domains to provide meaning of their content. So regardless of the technical nature of something or the business nature of something, we can still demonstrate its relational structure in this tool. And that structure, as mentioned here, is not limited in any sense, meaning the type of information or the way it's related to something else. There's really no limit to the way you could demonstrate something in the tool via its relationship. And just to reiterate here, what we're going through is an instant gratification of meaning through the image. When you see an image, you may have a tendency to conceptualize it more easily in your mind, and that image is presented in your memory more easily than it would be maybe a detailed document explaining what a field may actually mean in English. And once again, this is to help people that think differently and learn differently about information. So this is just a snapshot of our current stage. We are delivering physical data, meaning its technical nature, how it's stored, column names, data sets, and also conceptual meanings as well, groupings, and just more business-oriented or enterprise-oriented focuses of organization. And what we see here on the left-hand side is, just another demonstration of the images. On the top image, we have looks like a data set here, and it's related columns, and those columns also have relationships to other objects, which in this case are logical groupings of those columns. provides these relational structures, and they all have this depth, and the visualization tool is all about getting access to that and navigating through it to really learn what that information is all about. Just some current statistics for the tool. In production at the moment, yes, we have 2,000 plus objects being tracked, meaning anything's an object, a data set, a column, they're all considered objects. What did I say? 200,000, I'm sorry. And where you have 130 attributes to describe that data, kind of how Bill described his car. This set of attributes is used to describe the current data that's in there. As there's different ways to describe something, that number will obviously grow. And between these objects, there are roughly about 1.5 billion relationships between those objects already. And the current supporting systems that we have captured are simply ab initio, which is an ETL tool. System Architect is a data architecture tool, and Galileo is our own system. And just to give you an idea of how these relationships easily grow in size, just between those three systems, we have 1.5 connections between those objects